Hello and welcome to Express News with me, Deepika, your daily half-an-hour window that brings you 100 news and updates from the country and the world in just 30 minutes. Let's begin. A group of probationers of Indian Civil Account Service, Indian Post and Telecommunication Service, Indian Railway Management Service and Indian Postal Service called on the President of India, Draupadi Murmu, at the Rashtrapati Bhavan today. Speaking on the occasion, the President said that the young officers have the opportunity to contribute directly to the nation's development and prosperity through their domain of functioning, be it managing public finances or ensuring seamless connectivity and communication across the country. In the third episode of Pariksha Pe Charcha, artificial intelligence took center stage in shaping smarter learning strategies. The third session of Pariksha Pe Charcha 2025 concluded with finance expert Radhika Gupta underscoring how AI can play a transformative role in shaping the future, especially in teaching the correct usage of AI. Tech influencer Gaurav Chaudhary, also known as Technical Guruji, also shared various strategies to help students reduce exam stress through technology, one of which includes using tech tools to create to-do lists. A global environmental organization called Earthy Green Foundation organized Climate Conference 2025 in New Delhi on Thursday. The conference focused on topics including India's journey towards green and sustainable future. And now let's go live across to Rajya Sabha, where the Finance Minister is addressing.
Debt is a problem, whereas fiscal prudence has always been the matter which gets advocated. People tell that economies will have to be managed more fiscally prudent ways. So globalization versus fragmentation, which is a reality, fiscal prudence versus growing global debt, which is a reality, and everybody wants to have free market situation, but you have aggressive tariff barriers and non-tariff barriers. So you're facing a world where a lot of talk goes on about keep the markets free, but no one country wants to have free market when it comes to their interest. So with all this, the usual practice would be that you will approach multinational institutions to seek redressal or to seek handholding. Multilateral forums have also become today very diluted. They seem to be there but not really exerting themselves even with the given framework of things. So bilateral partnerships and regional forums are the ones which are really governing the situation. So much contrary to all those principles with which the world has moved in terms of an economic order, is all going through a major change. So the uncertainties can be defined in some terms, but you really can't predict what moves. In this situation, the first advanced estimates from the NSO has said that India's economy will grow by 6.4% in real terms and about 9.7% in nominal terms. So the budget this year, we have kept our goals in such a way that we are able to accelerate growth, secure inclusive development, invigorate private sector investments, uplift household sentiments, and also to directly or indirectly enhance spending power of the Indian rising middle class. In all this, we have seen that there are 4 groups of people that if you touch and serve, the impact will be across the country: Garib, Youth, Annadata, and Nari. And therefore, every scheme that we have before us has something to bring in terms of benefits for these 4 large groups. Sir, I want to take a minute to put it before this august House that when we are talking about capital expenditure, because I've heard quite a few members speaking about how capital expenditure is probably coming down, the shift is now from moving away from capital expenditure to boosting consumption. I just want to highlight the thought about or the idea of effective capital expenditure. What it does include is core capital outlays in the union budget and also the grants and aid for creation of capital assets to the states. So, though the grants and aid for creation of capital assets is accounted as revenue expenditure in the books of the union government, yet they go to the states to create capital assets, and therefore they are also effectively, eventually, only capital expenditure. So in the budget in the financial year 25-26, which is before us, the effective capital expenditure is projected at 15.48 lakh crore as against 13.18 lakh crore in the RE of 24-25. So there is just no reduction in capital expenditures. But even more, if we take this together with what is done by the public enterprises, they are independent of the budget, they do their own, but they also account for the capital expenditure. If we were to take that also on board, if we take that public enterprises from their own resources, when they invest money for capital expenditure, they do it substantially. And so if I were to include that for the year 25-26, the capital outlay, which I would define as effective capital expenditure, is likely to be in the range of 19.80 lakh crores. So, the concern expressed by some members, which I take up in detail a bit later, but right up front, saying, have sectors been denied money? Have some sectors received lesser than what they received last year? I just want to assure the House, in terms of the numbers that have been presented in the budget, I'll restate them. Sectoral outlays for 25-26, sir. Agriculture and allied activities, 1.71 lakh crores. Rural development, 2.67 lakh crores. These are already given in the budget, it's before us. Urban development and transport, 6.45 lakh crores. Health and education, 2.27 lakh crores. And defense spending, excluding defense pension, is 4.92 lakh crores. So we have not cut down on any sectoral allocations. The total resources being transferred to the states in 25-26 is 25.01 lakh crores. Resources being transferred to the states, which shows an increase of 4.92 lakh crores over the actuals of 23-24. So the portion which has to go to the states are also not cut down. On the contrary, substantial increase has been made in them. So if I spoken specifically about capital expenditure and also sectoral allocations, I want to, because this is the upper house, very experienced members coming from various walks of life are here and who have been in governments are here. I want to highlight a feature of budget making in the last 4 years, 5 years, which speak for themselves. Just 2 examples for each of the years, sir, which is very important considering that members would be eager to know as to how public finance is being managed. Sir, I begin with a contrast, not so much for talking about whose period it was, is it my period, your period, but when crisis hit countries and when crisis will have to be managed. And when managing crisis, you will have to adopt some methods and post that the revival. In that sense, I would like to just compare between the global financial crisis as opposed to the crisis of COVID-19, when India's government's attempt resulted that India became fragile 5, whereas after COVID, the attempt that has been made with targeted support to people who needed help has lifted India from the position where it was in fragile 5, post-COVID, from where it was to where we are today on the top 5 economies. So the measures that have been taken are not attributable to one budget itself. It has been sustained over several budgets since 2020. I want to highlight some features for it from each of them. For instance, 2020-21 budget reveals recurrent themes. From then, it reveals recurring themes of transparency to foster credibility of budget making, reforms to catalyze growth, targeted social security, and use of technology for obtaining value for public money. Today, I think it's a very appreciable point. Today, all over the country, concern about how effectively is the taxpayers' rupee being spent is widely heard. You hear from different sections of the society saying taxpayers' money, which is a right concern citizens should have. I just want to highlight that in 2020-2021 budget, sir, we brought in the element of transparency and strengthening cooperative federalism. How did we do it? We took a big step of bringing on board FCI's, the Food Corporation of India's, off-budget borrowing of about 1.2 lakh crores onto the budget. We said, yes, it might hit us from the point of view of fiscal deficit, but we will have to do it, bring in credibility to the budget making and transparency. We also strengthened the partnership with the states. It is that year that not because Finance Commission has recommended it, not at all. We brought in a 50-year interest-free capital assistance to the states, which was not on the basis of a recommendation which the Finance Commission gave. But we started the process then, and when we started it, we just extended 12,000 crores to the states, saying 50 years, you take it, no interest to pay, you can go ahead with what you want to do in terms of capital expenditure. All states, no state left out in that. And that 12,000 crores of 2020-21 today for this year has reached 1,50,000 crores. 50-year interest-free. This year's budget for this year gives 1,50,000 crores for states. No, they can choose the projects they want to do and complete it, asset building. So that has been started from 2020-21, and every year some amount. It's been growing and it has reached this level today. 21-22, sir, again fiscal transparency and technology adoption was taken up for the budget making. We regularized long pending outstanding dues, and this is very interesting, sir. And I'm sure the House will appreciate this point, that we regularized long pending outstanding dues amounting to over 81,000 crores payable to the states under devolution of central taxes for the period. So I was astonished when I started working on it, but I'm glad to say we resolved it. For the period, 81,000 crore for the period, beginning 96-97 until 2017-18, we had to do the calculations to make sure every state in this 81,000 crores, which has been pending over decades, is given that money back. We did that in 21-22. Because Honorable Prime Minister has been a Chief Minister of a state, he knows the difficulty of states, and he said, please sit and clear this up. I don't want this waiting. From 97, it has been waiting, clear it. We cleared 81,000 crores in the year 21-22. I'm very happy that we sorted that out with the consultations held with states as well. So similarly that year, sir, I told you the previous year, we took on board the Food Corporation of India's amounts which were outside of the budget. This year, after having given states their dues, which has been pending from 96-97, we took on board the off-budget borrowings of urban housing from the Ministry of Urban Development, 33,000 crores which was outside of the budget, off-budget borrowing. We brought that back onto the budget, which means we've taken the responsibility to address this. And we also prepaid it. I would like to highlight the fact that clearing debt prior to its due time has also been methodically taken up in each one of our budget exercise. That was done in 21-22. And the third step, using technology so that states and center will be clear as to where the money lies, and using technology, they can see the flow of money and see where the treasury is receiving the money for which project, and therefore go ahead with states' contribution and build that. So the single nodal agency, which is for timely release of money and technology driven, so everybody knows where the money lies, was brought in 21-22, which has actually reformed There are later instances where I'll explain about how that has helped us to see where money is lying idle, and therefore to that extent borrow less, pay interest less. So that has helped in fiscal management, sir. In 22-23, sir, debt consolidation was given a big priority. Strengthening states' liquidity position has been a big priority. I'll just give an example. Railway Minister is just sitting next to me. We've commenced complete financing of the capital outlays of railways and highways from the union budget. So this has lowered the cost of borrowing for railways itself for their projects, and as a result, today we are able to speedily fund their capital investments. We also advanced, and this will be very much in favor for the states, we advanced the devolution date. Every month, tax is devolved to the states. For years, it's been done on the 20th of the month. We said, why should it go till the middle of the month? Why can't it be paid earlier? So we moved the date from 20th of the month to 10th of the month itself so that states can get it earlier. That was done so that the cash position in the states can be improved. Sir, we also did one more for the budget. Every year you have your budget estimates given during the budget presentation, and in the middle of the year suddenly one program loses enough money, they say we need more, so will you raise it in the supplementary demands programs? Very well. There was a practice all the while to have 3 times supplementary demands. So it had 2 implications. One, your estimates were going for a toss, or your estimate itself was not based on the data which you get from the ground, and therefore we wanted to streamline that. And from that year, 22-23, we have brought in a fairly clear system of there will be supplementary demand, but only twice in a year, so that you are able to bring in a BE which is far more realistic rather than go along the year and keep adding for supplementary demands. So we have brought in that kind of a discipline for ourselves, much more than for anybody, and that is paying adequate rewards. Last, sir, last but one, 23-24, sir, we made sure the taxpayers get a relief. So the new tax regime was brought in, and we made it as the default regime, so that unless a person wants exemption, he will be part of the new tax regime. But if he states that he wants to be in the old, he can still be in the old if he thinks he's better off in that. So we brought that in, and we also raised the tax limit, meaning up to certain income that you don't pay tax at all, to 7 lakhs in that year. And using marginal benefit, meaning marginal relief being given to the taxpayer, up to 7.27 lakh, an individual doesn't need to pay tax, was brought in 23-24, which of course this year we have gone up to the level of 12 lakhs. So 23-24 also saw a special scheme for women, Mahila Samman Bachat Patra. We brought it in 23-24 with very high interest for them so that they benefit out of that money. We also doubled deposit limits in senior citizen savings schemes and monthly income scheme. So that way, we were continuously bringing changes. And if I come to the current budget, sir, you see the trend continuing, new service and new instrument of service. That is in 24-25, I'm sorry, last budget, the July budget. New service and new instrument of service limits, meaning states, ministries will be given higher limits up to which they can spend. This has been recommended by the PAC, and also we consulted the CAG, and we brought it so that departments will have greater flexibility in spending more rather than for small amounts coming and seeking appropriation from the supplementary demands. So that has given more facility, more freedom for the departments to spend when they have an issue of a priority spending area. This is the 4th time since independence such a review has been undertaken, and we have brought it in this year. 24-25 July budget. Similarly, one other major reform that we brought in was short-term T-bill borrowings have been drastically reduced. This has contributed for greater liquidity in the markets, in the financial system, so that private borrowers don't suffer. We don't get in, government doesn't get into the market and crowd them out. That situation shall not occur because we've now chosen to have short-term T-bill borrowings drastically cut down. We also did a buyback of G6 for about 88,000 crores. This one single step, sir, has resulted in interest saving of about 5,000 crores apart from infusing liquidity in the system. So other than what we do through the schemes, other than what we give through devolution, for managing the taxpayers' rupee far more efficiently, these are the steps that we've taken, and repeatedly proving to the taxpayer that paying the tax truly is going for nation building. So we have also, in the July budget, shown very clearly that we will have a debt consolidation pathway, and that pathway will enable our government debt to be brought down closer to 50% of GDP, of 50% of our GDP, from nearly 58% where it is now, 50% plus minus 1% by 31st March 2031. That has been explained in the documents which have been given to the budget document last July budget. So again, if that is the trend through the budget making and the effective use of taxpayers' money, questions were raised if the fiscal consolidation has been at the cost of spending. I think in the brief opening remarks itself, I explained how there has not been any reduction in the money being given to the social sector. It actually balances available money wherever it is available effectively, and that is not cut down. But if questions are being asked about you're giving lesser now, whereas the project demands more, I broadly highlight the fact that because technology is now available for both the center and the states, you can see where the money is lying unutilized. And if that money is utilized, bills are raised, immediately we shall fund the money to the states. Now, whether it is lying in your treasury, whether it is lying in the SNA account, which is for a particular scheme, money is lying, sir. And big amounts are lying in various big schemes across states. I'm not pointing out for one state or another state or the third state. But if money is lying there, it is a money given, and many times borrowed money. If it is lying there, am I expected to borrow more money and put it in there and keep paying the interest? Or is it better that you use the money and post that I can borrow timely and give it to you? Or if I have the comfort of my revenue, I can even give it. But that which is lying unutilized today is available for the governments, wherever they are, state or the center, to see and to use it much before demands are made for additional resources. I wouldn't get into reading how much is lying where. It is part of the budget set of documents. You can see it in the budget document which is available, and it is in the annexure statement 4AA. So any honorable member can see which scheme money is lying within their state and use it far more effectively. And that would only make efficiency far more for the taxpayers' money. So, I've already said about the money which is going to the schemes, so I wouldn't take more of the House's time. About growth challenges, I understand two honorable members have spoken. I think it was Sulata Dev from BJD and also Honorable Member Kapil Sibal. So it is a matter of fact, as I said earlier, that there are challenges. There's no doubt about the challenges that not just India, every country is facing. For India in particular, to explain why the Q4 growth was low and why we think it is manageable in the forthcoming quarters is because of the adverse weather conditions which prevailed during the year, excess rainfall in some states, drought in some others, and also the model code of conduct because of the Lok Sabha elections. Most departments could not spend their money in time. As a result, the multiplier was not as much as you would calculate when you spend on your capital expenditure. Sir, former Finance Minister P. Chidambaram has raised quite a few issues, and I have answers for all of them, answers based on data. And I understand he has also communicated with me through a letter that he is unfortunately not going to be in the House today for unavoidable reasons, and I appreciate him communicating, saying that he is not going to be in the House. But nevertheless, because they are very important points, I will try to give answers for them. Talking of unemployment,
वैसे आपकी उदारता है, संसदीय परंपराओं में जो बोलकर चले जा उपस्थित नहीं हो तो उनका जवाब देना आवश्यक नहीं होता, पर आप उदारता पूर्वक दे रही, धन्यवाद.
Because वो information भी मुझे था.
अच्छा, उनको जानकारी जी जी धन्यवाद, ठीक है.
I've conceded that. Sir.
All right, so that was Union Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman's reply in the Rajya Sabha on the Union budget presented for the year 2025-26. And with this, it's a wrap here on Express News for now, but news and updates will continue here on DD India. So don't go anywhere, keep watching and keep tracking DD India. Namaskar.